Okay, dear friends, we will start the seminar. Welcome to the seminar. This is the last seminar of our great project, Amplifying Heritage. The seminar title is ICH Research as Means for Cultural, Social and Educational Development. My name is Matti Hakamäki. I'm the director of Finnish Institute, and we've had the privilege to coordinate the project, but also we have great collaborators from Mauritius, Nepal, and then from Arts University Academy. And we will start with Vilma Timonen presentation, and we will also get to know a little bit about the feelings of the project that we have experienced. So welcome, and welcome, Vilma.
Thank you, Matti. Hello, Rizu, Alain, all friends. Hello. There. So I was thinking that before we jump into the topic of today, the research, let's present ourselves a little bit through a small video that has been put together of the project activities. So Noor, could you help us with this video?
Zélia, qui fait toi péfé à balablo, moi qui fait toi péfé à balablo, moi tout ça y est mon côté, tout côté. Zélia, qui fait toi péfé à balablo, moi qui fait toi péfé à balablo, moi tout ça y est mon côté, tout côté.
In the Amplifying Heritage project, we are focused on co-creation and meeting the communities and meeting practitioners. So here we must say that we did a real great experience with students from the organization which welcomed us so well. In the process of hearing what we do and we hearing what they do and trying to figure out similarities, differences and how best we can meet, and this has been an extraordinary experience for us all.
Where I come from, my background is like we have these different culture, different, traditional musics going on. It is rolling, but yes, it is going in a descending slope. We, as a musician, as a teacher, as a music festival, what we believe is like, okay, how to keep this tradition alive? We are talking about with the modernity, right? It's like we need to attract the youngsters to go and get this thing going, to be involved directly in the traditional music making. So what we play as our role has been to cater it so that we could just try to make it as hip as possible for the youngsters to get, interested. The vibe. So it's not only the old thing that's there, but like it could be your thing. And how you can actually reflect from that and create new musics also. That can become a source of inspiration, source of the whole.
Making it a living heritage.
And then again make something new out of it, always. Like, so that people are interested to it, and then this keeps on rolling. So that's where we play how to come in between, let's say so-called modernity and the tradition.
The music that is inside these children and young people, they've grown up with it. It's in their system, these like wonderful rhythms, and how you actually do it with the co-creation on Thursday. Kind of, so I thought that is just the way of kind of digging out what they have. So kind of making it visible through these kind of approaches where actually it is them who produce what we are doing, and then we put it together, and then we celebrate the outcome together. So I think this is quite important for the research as well, and to kind of understand the difference between the kind of music education where the aim is kind of to plant something to the children.
Zélia, qui fait toi péfé à balablo, moi qui fait toi péfé à balablo, moi tout ça y est mon côté, tout côté. Zélia, qui fait toi péfé à balablo, moi qui fait toi péfé à balablo, moi tout ça y est mon côté, tout côté.
Thank you. And thank you, Folk Music Institute, for putting this beautiful mini documentary together. During each visit, when the Nepal band Kansanmusiikki was here last summer, we had about 20 minutes interview where we kind of elaborated a bit more in depth of the experience, and we did that in Mauritius as well. So kind of this small documentary was put together from these longer kind of video journals. Our project, as was there, yes. So going into today's topic of the research, I actually chose. Do we have the? You can continue. Okay. Yes, sorry, a bit of technical issues. Soon there. Oh, yes, you can see the title slide there already. So I chose actually this title slide. I wanted to show it because it bears a particular meaning. I wanted to choose this one that is inspired by Holi, the Festival of Colors, which we all of the project partners got to experience last March together in Kathmandu. And I hope that these colorful sparks bring us nice energy for this afternoon session and provoke some nice thoughts and conversation. But yes, as you saw from the, oh, do we have it? Yes. As you saw from the documentary, we've had quite a few different kinds of activities during this project. And today I'm here to present the preliminary kind of research findings that has been pulled together during this project. So my name is Vilma Timonen. I'm a researcher and lecturer at the University of the Arts Helsinki Sibelius Academy. No. Yes, and then next. Yes. So the starting points for the research have been, it's aimed to address questions of how intangible cultural heritage, here focusing on musical heritage, could be sustained and revitalized in education in ways that center social and cultural justice. As UNESCO 22 highlights, several kinds of emergencies directly threaten the practice and transmission of ICH and call for finding heritage new ways of existing. In super diverse societies, traditional understandings of individual and collective identities may no longer apply, and indeed, new kinds of cultural literacy, critical reflexivity, and interrogation of hegemonies are required. The research in this project has aimed to move forward from the conservation approach to viewing cultural sustainability as a system's capacity to maintain its integrity, in identity and continuity, even when subjected to forces of disturbance and change. Research focusing on processes that aim to revitalize heritage in new ways and among new groups is scarce. Thus, this research seeks to fill a gap in the need for more research on structured educational attempts where the orientation is finding new and creative ways to connect with heritage, also allowing cultural change that might be needed from the social justice point of view. The research has been guided by two main questions that you can see there. Yet, each case study has had specific sub-questions that direct the focus on to the site-specific phenomena, yet contribute to these main questions from different perspectives. The findings are published in peer-reviewed scholarly books, research journals, and as conference proceedings. An important ethical stance in this project has been to commit to a participatory approach, where the research is conducted with the people on site, and its aims and focus are collaboratively agreed upon and adjusted also collaboratively along the way. Particularly when conducting research in an unfamiliar cultural environment, the participatory approach necessitates including the research participants in the whole process, from planning to agreeing on the results, to guarantee that the research is meaningful and relevant for the people involved, not just for the academic community. I will first present a case study conducted in Mauritius that presents innovative educational activities of Abaim, an NGO accredited to the UNESCO 2003 convention. This case study provides an inspirational example of education that centralizes social and cultural justice and thus acts as an example of an educational approach that can strengthen the heritage ecology and simultaneously contribute to sustainable development. And now I will ask Alain if I made any mistakes here. You can then correct me and put the facts together in your commentary.
No worry.
Republic of Mauritius is a rapidly developing island nation surrounded by the southwest parts of the Indian Ocean and home to more than 1.2 million people. It has no indigenous population but the population is a mix of people who arrived on the island in different eras. Indeed, the country's colonial history is reflected in the demographical landscape of the island. Even though no official population census in that sense has been conducted in decades, it has been estimated by Clarice that the Indian originated population forms a vast majority, covering almost 2/3 of the overall population. Sino-Mauritians of Chinese origin form about 3% of the population, whilst the Afro-Mauritians, so-called Creole, form almost 1/3 of it. People of French origin are about 1 to 2%. However, the island's demographical landscape is much more nuanced than simple division into different groups would suggest, as this small take on a demographic study of Flack, a town on the east coast of the island conducted in 2001 describes. There were baptized Indians who had married Christian Creoles, Chinese descendants with Indian ancestry who were Roman Catholics, Hindus who had converted to Islam upon marriage, and young people who were anchoring their identity in hip-hop. Most people speak Creole Mauritian as their home language. However, education takes place in English, the country's administrative language. Mauritius has a particularly vivid and rich musical heritage that is practiced and passed on within families, communities, community centers, events, and festivals. Several Mauritian music and dance forms have also been recognized internationally and inscribed on the UNESCO's representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Like the language of Creole Mauritian, the culture of Sega breaks down the cultural barriers and is a shared culture among the Mauritian people. Over its 40 years of activities, Abaim has initiated opportunities for the young generation in Mauritius to express themselves through free speech, storytelling, play, music making, and various other creative ways. Trying to fill in the gaps in a rigid education system that does not operate in the children's mother tongue, nor has supported the children's overall growth, the Abaim activities are framed and rooted into the local intangible cultural heritage and centralized commitment to social and cultural justice and sustainable development. The main activities over the years has been Saturday Care. It's been running since 1995 in Beaubassin, Barkly, Mauritius. The area is characterized by a low socioeconomic status where families suffer from diverse poverty-related socioeconomic challenges. The educational activities draw from the children's lived experiences and life worlds. Tuition is done using their home language, Creole Mauritian. Music and the arts are integrated into all activities. On Mondays and Fridays, the local children of Barkly can come to Abaim premises and receive support for their schoolwork. Even the music making of Sega is present in many of the Saturday and Sunday Care activities. The children who want to enhance their musical skills by playing Ravan, Maravan, Triang, singing and dancing can join music group rehearsals on Monday and Thursday evenings. In the book club activities, the instructors and volunteers lead literature-related activities that support the children in developing a relationship with the books. The children are also encouraged to use their imagination by drawing pictures and inventing small stories inspired by their drawings. This is important, as one instructor explains. The books in the schools or elsewhere do not reflect the lived realities of these children. The children's families are also reached out and supported. The Abaim team based regular visits to the families and works in cooperation with the communal social services. Abaim also offers a counseling program where children in need of acute support get assistance with their psychological challenges. Now, even though the scope of the Abaim activities is very meaningful and impressive in itself, there are very important messages that call for attention. Leaning on the UNESCO 2003 Convention definition of ICH, we can see how at Abaim, the ICH is used as a medium to connect with the children's immediate surroundings, socio-cultural and natural environment. The Abaim education uses ICH, for instance, traditional handicrafts, to open alternative economic prospects for the young. The educational activities harness the local intangible culture in ways that make ICH both medium and message. As an instrument to achieve economic, social, and ecological sustainability, where tangible and intangible forms of culture are seen as a resource for local and regional economic development, as well as means to increase people's resilience and agency within their own lives. Indeed, the case Abaim suggests that embedding traditional music and other forms of ICH at the heart of formal music education calls for music education to reach beyond authoritarian, standardized, and hegemony-based practices, where the aims of education move further from merely training particular music genres to harnessing ICH for the holistic growth of the people. Then let's move to Finland. In this case study, the framework provided by Shippers and Grant 2016 provides a lens through which folk music professionalism is scrutinized. Again, here music sustainability is understood as an ecosystem that conceptually allows the extension of the concept of heritage beyond dichotomies such as historical, modern, static, creative, or local and global. The study was conducted by interviewing the Sibelius Academy alumni who have connected with the Finno-Baltic Nordic traditions through formal education. The study illuminates their processes of connecting with the tradition and then directs the focus on folk music professionalism. What kind of professionalism is it? And what kind of role do folk music professionals play in the music sustainability framework? The preliminary findings suggest that higher education in traditional music is a very effective way of responding to music sustainability questions, as professional folk musicians occupy, indeed, all the ecosystem domains, thus strengthen the ecosystem notably. The higher music education has provided these professionals with comprehensive and diverse musical skills, historical understandings, and heritage-related ethical responsibilities, allowing them to act as boundary workers between and among these different domains. The findings challenge the understanding that one has to be born to a tradition. In other words, the findings challenge the national or cultural identity as central explanatory concepts for issues in diversifying music education. The education needs to provide multiple dimensions, multiple means to connect with heritage and allow the future professionals to shape their professional identity according to their interests that might be diverse and vary. The findings also support ideas of rooted cosmopolitanism, which argues that in-depth immersion and understanding of horizontal and vertical dimensions of one tradition are indeed a key, not only to cultural sustainability, but also interculturality. Rooted cosmopolitanism abandons the multicultural starting points where the students get superficial understanding of several music cultures and highlights instead that a holistic understanding of one tradition provides means for understanding diversity. To conclude, I will now share some preliminary raw thoughts that synthesize the findings of these two case studies from two very diverse sites globally. Firstly, heritage is to be understood far beyond a system, objects, or practices to be maintained or preserved. The ecological approach promotes the operationalization of heritage, turning the gaze into questions about what heritage ecology can do. Thus, the ecological perspective offers a frame for music education that can simultaneously combine the vitality of traditions and educational or other broader goals related to sustainability. Indeed, cultural heritage is not a single entity, but something that can be and should be considered in relation to human rights, climate change, development issues, poverty alleviation, and urban regeneration, among others. Understanding heritage as dynamic suggests moving from an objectifying authoritarian approach towards a creative, socio-constructivist approach to heritage that emphasizes heritage as a dynamic process of multiple actors. Moreover, this conceptualization recognizes that the transmission of traditional knowledge happens in diverse social, cultural, and temporal contexts through dynamic and dialogical interaction of multiple actors. Thus, the educational ethos changes from passing on the tradition towards a holistic citizenship education that leans on a process-led and value-based educational ethos of critical thinking that aims towards increased participatory citizenship, where heritage education is then linked to broader sustainable development goals. Importantly, the processual understanding of heritage allows for identifying the social and global dimensions, such as inequalities and diverse political, economic, and societal interdependencies that all affect the vitality of the heritage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vilma. So the idea or the question that we are asking in this seminar, how can research contribute to safeguarding of intangible cultural heritage? And this has been very nicely reality in our project through Vilma's research. And next we will hear from Mauritius, Alain Muneean, and the NGO Abaim and group Abaim viewpoints, what kind of experiences they have about working with academia, with the researchers. It's not always very simple to combine the safeguarding work in the grassroots level and then the hierarchies of academia and the ecosystem of research people. But Alain Muneean, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Matti. Thank you so much to this really great initiative whereby our organizations from Finland, from Nepal and Mauritius have been able to put up such a great initiative with excellent results, I must say. And I wish to take the opportunity to extend a big congratulations to Vilma for where the work has come up to now. And we have just a gist of it, but it is so amazing that Vilma, with the approach, with the methods, has indeed been able to convey to us really what it is all about, research, and particularly when it comes to trying to find ways and means of strengthening intangible cultural heritage so that it gains access to mainstream education for the benefit of the whole population, and for us in Abaim, for in particular those who live in disadvantaged conditions. So would it be possible for me to share a screen for my little presentation, Matti?
Yes, it should be possible.
So if I may, I just try to do that. Just bear with me a few seconds. So that's it. I think I have to get it into slideshow. Okay, where is it? Okay, I'm having just, yeah, that's it. Okay. So our point indeed is to see to what extent grassroots experiences, as just mentioned, beautifully mentioned by Vilma, has been able here in Mauritius to impact on the overall system of education, and to what extent these grassroots experiences has represented challenges and opportunities as well. So just a little guess that definition concerns when we talk about ICH. As Vilma rightly pointed out, those elements that are concerned when we talk about intangible cultural heritage can be indeed categorized into those domains that have to do with oral traditions and expressions, including language as a vehicle of the intangible cultural heritage. And when we talk about cultural heritage and oral tradition, it has some sort of particular resonance in a country like Mauritius, because indeed here language is a big issue and has been a big issue, because the mother tongue for long has been deprived of its place and the right to be used in official places, but particularly at school. So then the struggle for intangible cultural heritage had indeed to do with the importance of making sure that the Creole language, which is the language spoken by more than 90% of the population, has its place. And we can say that for the past now 15 years, we have succeeded in getting it into the mainstream. And as of now, children and students are studying the Creole language up to secondary school. The second domain would be performing arts, whereby here as well, our organization has been able to take from oral traditions, take from what the communities used to do and practice, and put it in a form that indeed allows it to be strong enough to get to the heart of the whole population. And by doing so, it has been a way for us to sustain our efforts for the state, for all those authorities to recognize indeed the power, the strength of oral traditions and expressions when it comes to performing arts. So performing arts has become indeed one of the most effective ways for us in Abaim and in Mauritius to force upon the government to let elements of intangible cultural heritage enter into the mainstream system of education. So here we have discovered to what extent indeed when the population feels valorized, feels valued by the forms of expression that it indulges in at community level, when we manage, for example, to facilitate it, to give it forms that are recognized by the whole population as a nation, then the authorities don't have much choice. And sometimes it's a question of rapport de force between various currents in society. And we can say that in as much as we have been able to show the beauty, the aesthetics, but then more than that, the forces, the pedagogical forces, the psycho-socio-pedagogical forces of oral traditions, then it became more of a possibility. It became true. So this is the way as well whereby performing arts has been able to be used to strengthen the use of ICH in the mainstream system of education. We can talk as well about social practices, rituals, and festive events. We can talk about these things as, for example, the use of play. Traditional play has been one of our main activities in order to show to what extent practices that had been transmitted generation to generation from our ancestors, they indeed they indeed were full of elements, full of strengths, of forces that could indeed be used for people to not only survive, but develop as well in what we would call an integral way as overall development. So social practices as well have played an important part in the work of Abaim. We have as well used and we have got inspired as well by nature and the universe in as much as we resort to traditional medicine, for example, and we encourage our beneficiaries, the students and their parents, to use more and more of knowledge that we can acquire from traditional medicine. And then the last domain in which Abaim has made indeed a difference in the Mauritian society has to do with traditional craftsmanship and particularly with the fabrication of traditional instruments, whereby at some point in time, these instruments were really in danger. And then we managed to show people how to fabricate, manufacture traditional instruments. And as at now, we have indeed a small enterprise where ravans, the hand drums, maravans are produced and are put on sales at various outlets in the country. So this is the general idea about it. I'll just now show you a little video about that. So we now turn to what we would need to address as well when we talk about the importance of ICH and research from the perspective of the grassroots organization. I think that we need to look into the multidimensional cultural processes that have had and are still having an impact on the life and livelihoods of people in terms of their survival and overall development. And I must say that indeed, Vilma did something great by researching in a systematic way how we do it at Abaim, how we've been doing it at Abaim, and her preliminary findings are really up to the point. So that would be the first meaningfulness of ICH research to get to those processes. And then the second point about meaningfulness would be acknowledging the fact that life and livelihoods of people is indeed rooted in no less than their cultural traditions and the way these traditions have been transmitted and are actually transmitted. Here as well, Vilma did a great work and just exposed to you how we managed to get that taken into consideration. And of course, the pertinence of ICH, as I mentioned it, has to do with the overall development of people, meaning the physical, cognitive, emotional development, both as an indicator and of achievable goals. Now, how far ICH elements and ICH perspectives are present in society? This remains a big question, and I think that the approach used by the team led by Vilma indeed was able to retrieve those aspects of research that are indeed crucial to produce results, to be useful, to show the pertinence of ICH and ICH research. So indeed, Vilma chose indeed the ecological, the systemic approach, the micro, meso, exo, macro, chrono, and it has to do with taking into consideration what happens from home to the universe, through school, the community, institutions, and society at large. But then research still needs an improved sense of purpose that takes into consideration both the processes and outcomes. And I don't have to mention it again. Vilma did a really amazing task by bringing all those components together in the research when we started and we carried out the Amplifying Heritage project. Now, where do matters stand as at now? 3 places needs our attention: home, the community, and the institutions. As far as modernity is concerned and has impacted on our society, we must say that as at now, home, despite the fact that it has had to resist so much to the adversity of modernity, home has remained a place where ICH elements, where transmission has been able to take place. But then it is not without barriers, it is not without dangers. And then the community as well. The community tends to be impacted negatively, but then there are things that have to be done, and organizations in the community such as Abaim have been in the forefront to provide ways and means and the necessary guidance for parents at home to be able to use as much as possible elements of intangible cultural heritage. And then the big question is about the institutions, because they are the ones that are the dominant ones in society. And it is at those levels that many things happen. There are so many occurrences, and one of those occurrences have to do with research. And those research are indeed used by the authorities to put up programs. And research then need to be looked at through various prisms. In our view, and at the level of organizations, non-governmental organizations especially, we are more conversant with empirical research, action research. We've been doing that. We've been observing. We've been participating. We've collected data which needs to be reinforced. But then these empirical research cannot at any cost be replaced by any other types of research. And this is why we have been really welcoming the initiative of Amplifying Heritage, because the approach to research takes on board empirical research, action research. The way that Vilma has conducted that research has shown so much of respect to whatever we have been doing, collecting, preserving, with full respect to the practitioners. So this has been something tremendous. This has been something which has indeed made a big difference for us as a grassroots organization, knowing that everything that had been done in the past has been taken into consideration. Vilma's research indeed has been built on the work that was already there. Of course, scientific laboratory academic research has its importance, but as matters stand in countries like Mauritius, we haven't been able to meet up with people or with that critical amount of persons here in the academia that would share those ways of doing things like Vilma has done. And it's just a pity that this hasn't been the case up to now. You know, one little story about the way this had been done concerned the inscription of the Segatipik at the UNESCO list of intangible heritage. You know, Mauritius had to submit its application a second time, because during the first time, those academics who drafted that application, they just forgot to consult appropriately the practitioners. So UNESCO turned down our application in the first instance with that big recommendation that they should go back to the practitioners. So this is what they did. And hopefully we managed to get the Segatipik inscribed as intangible cultural element at the UNESCO, thanks indeed to the support, to the participation of the practitioners. So our view when it comes to types of research, with the experience that we've had with empirical research, and with the great experience we've had with Amplifying Heritage and Vilma, we are among those who believe that we need to articulate better empirical research with scientific academic research. Of course, Vilma talked about it. She talked about rights-based, value-based, and the process, perspective, methodology, bottom-up, community-based, community ownership. All those elements need to be taken into consideration. And then a research, whatever be it, must always have a sense of purpose. These are the big challenges we have to face, a sense of purpose for the research. We must feel it, we must know that it would serve something. And I can say that the day we started on this trip, on this journey with Amplifying Heritage, we did have that sense of purpose. And we managed indeed to transfer those feelings to everybody, from the parents, from the communities, to the most sensitive and sensible persons at the helm of the authorities in Mauritius. We did have even the opportunity to go to a meeting with the Minister of Education here with Vilma, Rizu, Ani, in order to advocate for it, and we were well received. And the authorities in general here, when we showed that sense of purpose, they were really sensitive to what we said. So challenges would be as well that not good enough consideration from the academia, and we have to deal with top to bottom approach, and there is a lack of continuity as well when it comes to looking at research in Mauritius. But then I'll now maybe to end focus on opportunities. There is some sort of acknowledgement by academia of work carried out by practitioners. So I talked to you about consultation in Segatypic inscription. There are more and more materials collected by the grassroots organizations that are used by academia. The materials collected are even now used in school curriculum and school programs, which augurs well for the findings of Vilma and the way we can argue for a better use of ICH materials in mainstream school and in education. Now, the state party has ratified the ICH Convention 2003, and by doing so, it should represent an opportunity indeed for us to struggle for more recognition and more use of ICH. And then accreditation of NGO to the ICH Convention is something that has really made a difference for us. We can now for sure say, and with force, say that the accreditation of Abaim as at the UNESCO Convention on ICH has changed things for the best here in our country, to the extent that we are now really solicited by the authorities, the private sector, other NGOs, indeed, to put forward to sensitize more, indeed, the population about the usefulness of ICH elements. And finally, international networking and exchange programs have represented more and more opportunities for our organization, and it has shown the way indeed to how far we can move the agenda. We can even try to change the paradigm about using ICH in ways that have to do with things that some years ago would be unbelievable. When we talk about research 10 years back in Mauritius, I don't think that we could have had the ears of the authorities or even the academia when we were fighting, when we were struggling for more recognition of ICH elements in the mainstream system. But then when we have allies, we have been able to get support and good working relationship with Nepal, with Finland, then things have changed. And these are really hopeful message that Abaim is trying to convey to the whole world, and today to the Kaustinen Festival, from which we still have great memories. So on this note, I would like to thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all the best at the festival, for the rest of the festival. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan, so much. Very clear and precise presentation, and especially the pictures were very nice and warm, heartwarming to see, and actually started to realize that, okay, this is the end of the project. We've had so many nice moments and learnings and discussions with you. So it's, yeah, thank you very much. We will go forward. We will go to Echoes in the Valley, to Kathmandu, and Rizu Tuladhar. You will be explaining us something about your ideas about research collaboration of your organization, maybe the festival, and so on. But, please.
Thank you very much. And first of all, yeah, Alain, that was a really nice insight about the whole of the spectrum from different angles of the research and the collaboration that we've been doing. It's very insightful. Thank you very much, Alain. And Vilma, it's been a pleasure, and always will be. We've been working together since 2013 as in different projects, also researching in different projects, as well as organizing different events together, brainstorming for different educational ideas, and she's been helping me out a lot as well. And thank you very much, Matti, for getting this collaboration together, joining us with Nepal, with not only with Finland now, also with Mauritius, and it's one of the kind of things that we can always learn from each other. For us, it's a big opportunity because it's always new. The environment is always different in different places either that be in different academia or different culture only, or like different different countries. And when we talk about music or ICH, it is these things that takes in place the core of the whole idea of where that's the grassroots where we are dealing with. So it's been a pleasure, and my thank you very much humbly for getting us there. Let me give you a very short. This time I'm not presenting slide, but I'm presenting a small introduction, unlike last times. So Nepal, as other countries, also has this folk music, which is often understood as the music of the people. But folk music in Nepal as well is not a singular entity, because Nepal comprises of 125 different ethnic groups having their own food, custom, music, especially. So the tune, the language, melodies, and instruments, they vary as you move from east to west, or from the lowest point of Nepal would be like 140 meters above sea level up to the highest in the world. So we have a lot of different geographical areas, very diverse, and some are not livable as well. But like people living in these kind of places have their own customs, have their own music. So that's why we have a lot of different ethnic groups. So besides the usual casual use of some popular folk instruments, like for example this double-headed cylindrical drum called madal, or just the flute or murtunga, but many other unique sounds of Nepal has fallen by, sideways. Many songs, stories, these indigenous music holds are being lost and are disappearing as the older generation pass away without having been able to transfer their musical knowledge to those who come after them. That also does imply to our education system in the Nepal, because we still do not have music education system like a formal one in the schooling system. It is still as an extra, it is the music classes are taken as an extra curricula. So it's not the main subject. That is one of the main factors that's actually also like hampering in passing on the traditions to the newer younger generation. So, and even if we may have access to some traditional tunes in our communal ritual celebrations, we are unaware of this diverse sound that make up the whole folk in Nepal. That is, it makes up from all these 125 ethnic groups. So these are the grassroots that we are at the moment. But Echoes in the Valley, as a festival, we do the festival once a year, and we also have a Nepal Music Archive. We have an archive. We do year-round workshops on music education, and we do exhibitions, and we also have music scholarship programs, as well as some art residencies as well. But the goal of all these are to bring in together a vast range of folk and traditional sounds from Nepal and around the world. And the festival is the only free international day-long event in Nepal to celebrate folk tunes and its heritages and cultures that are tied to the ecosystem of the music. So these are the things that we do, but besides it, what I think I would like to really emphasize in today's presentation is, since I'm talking more about collaboration and working in grassroots collaboration, what are the things that we have experienced? Is I think I would like to shed some lights on this one particular work that we've been together also with Vilma. Is we've been bringing in. Okay, there's this 125 different ethnic groups having their own musics. So we are bringing this one Madal music into the community of non-Madal community. So we have been teaching Madal in that community, school of that community, which is taken very well, very, very positively, and the kids are learning very nicely. Because the whole idea is also like how to create our younger generation who can grow up with an cultural appreciation to each other and learning from each other, learning different instruments, as well as learning the approaches with this holistic citizenship education. So when we were bringing this music education in this particular school, I would like to show a small video clip how actually it is being run. Because what we did was like this, our music teacher was teaching there, and then we introduced a cultural bearer from the Madal community, brought him into the school academia format, and we had one workshop talking about the real role of not only the instrument, but the role of instrument within the community itself. How does it like ties itself with the community? So here's a small clip of that class. Where is the share button? Yeah. Is it? Can you see my desktop?
Yes.
Rizu, did you share the sound?
Sorry?
Did you share the, tick the box, share the sound? Can you try again?
Okay. Share screen. Oh, share sound. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. There you go, guys. This one is called Kathango. Oh, okay. Uh-oh. How do I come back to this now? Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry for a little bit there. So what was very interesting was like the kids were from the age of 7 to 11 years old, mixed with both male and female. And the interesting was, did you hear the language the teacher was teaching? That language is not from the community where the kids are starting at, but it's the music becomes such a tool that it makes it easier for the students to even sing. That's a beat, ging gin tang taka gin tang. So it's kind of like it's a mother language, and that comes from the Magar community, and that we are teaching that into the different community, and it's been taken really well. And the teachers, not only the students, the teachers were also like taking it really well, and they were surprised to learn that the instrument madal actually comes from this one particular community, because madal is considered as an national. Whenever, even in our primaries or secondary school, in the books, in the social studies book, there's an questions or like what are the folk instruments of Nepal, and it's like the first is like madal and sarangi. But like when we've been taking it as a Nepali, well, it is a Nepali, but it comes from one particular group within Nepal. So the teachers were surprised to see, we didn't know about this. So in that way, there's kind of like a lot of insightful, lot of small things, but very necessary to share among. These things are also coming up not only for the students but also for the teacher. But at the same time, what we are feeling at the moment is we should be very mindful as well, because madal is kind of an instrument that kind of unifies the whole country. Like it is kind of an like ongoing struggle within the head, like how this comes. Some people might take it when they realize that, oh, it's actually from a different community. It's not from their own community. So would they lose their interest or would they not, is a big question for me. Because for these kind of collaboration, for these kind of work to do with the communities, we have to be very mindful on where we are where is our field, where are we going, what are the respect that we are showing for that community and also for the community that we are bringing together. So these are the things that as an collaboration that goes forward, when there's a very, very grassroots involved, we need to be very, very mindful about these very sensitive issues that we might sometimes, plug in without even knowing what we are. That's not the intention, but like that might start something that we are not meaning to do. So these are the things of are the kind of ideas, the kind of like things that's evolving within the works that we are doing into the grassroots level. And when we are talking about working in the grassroots, I think that is when we need to really, really know what is the root, what is the thing that keeps the tradition. But because we are trying to help them not to, because we say, like I've been saying, we have 125 different ethnic groups. So what we believe is in diversity, but it's unity within diversity is what the country Nepal and what the music that we have been trying to do through Echoes in the Valley believe in. And that's how I would like to say, like, how to approach. It's a constant work. It's a never ending work. I think it's a constant work to learn how to work together without disrupting the community among the unity among the community, but still celebrating, appreciating with exchange of music cultures of different ethnic groups, to let it forward for the younger generation, how to take it forward with an approach of having this culture appreciation with culture and social justice, but again with an basis of a basis with a set of mind, with having the approach to holistic citizen education. That's how we've been having these works at the moment. So yeah, I'd like to thank you again, Matti, Alain, Vilma, and everyone here for having this platform and getting to work together and learn from each other. It's been a very big learning process for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Rizu, so much. It's always a pleasure to see the energy and patience of you, and of course the great work that you have been doing in the Echoes of the Valley. We will now go forward, and we have two short commentaries that people have promised us. First, Tiago, you have been here for the almost whole of the festival, and working with the Institute for in many different occasions already. So you're from Weimar, Germany, originally from Brazil, and UNESCO shareholder, and of course research and ICH music is very familiar to you. So I ask you to come here for comments and ideas, insights, projects, what you have heard today, and whatever other things you have to say.
Thank you so much.
Please.
I made some notes. Well, first of all, thank you very much for this program. It's exactly what Matti said. You feel that this is more than just research. it fills their mind. It is a necessity in the place where they live, in the culture they share, and so on. Let me just make some brief remarks on amplifying heritage. I was thinking about this title. It's interesting because it reminds me on some other. So amplifying heritage means giving broader visibility, probably strengthening it through that broader visibility. Amplifying, of course, is sound, and giving visibility is something that you see. So it's a nice title. It reminds me on a project 20 years ago, it had in African countries, where a book was published on that, Turn Up the Volume, or a Swedish project from the 90s, Big Sounds from Small People. Very interesting project. Swedish colleague, and with similar ideas, because you're Mauritius and Nepal are not really the big countries in size, of course, very diverse, as we heard. And so these are some links which might be interesting. I would like to address two issues. The first one is regarding research in intangible cultural heritage, especially also into music in higher education institutions, and related to that, some thoughts on the convention as such. Let me just tell you how we do research in music as, or have done past almost 1 decade at the University of Music, for instance, in Weimar. And this chair, this UNESCO chair on transcultural music studies, is the first musicological UNESCO chair. And of course, the focus is this topic, music as a living heritage in many different aspects. Of course, we train future researchers and scholars. This is one thing. And also experts, of course, in the convention with this focus on music. This is one thing. The other one is, and this has to do with your project, of course, we train also future music educators. So showing them how to see music education within this broader and very dynamic frame of living heritage. What has been missing so far, and that's why it's important to be working in the countries, is training of practitioners. We have now, finally, I think, after so many years, we have at least one PhD candidate and one master's candidate who came from this from communities and has been practitioners for decades. And so this is a trend, but that's starting very slowly. I don't know what kind of experience you have in Singapore. Yes, of course, Singapore would be such an example, but in university in general, this has happened very rarely. And now the research as such, we heard here, the colleague from Mauritius said very properly, doing research, you have always to be aware of you have to have a sense of purpose. Why doing this? It's ethical issue. So these questions are also for us are very central. So this kind of research in order to support sustainability, to implement and give visibility to the convention, and so on. And another aspect which came through here is that our research and their research is being used by authorities. So even to develop programs, this would be ideal, but it's not that way, not even in Germany. very struggle university because of the current school program. It's a long process. It's very hard to have our research also having a broader impact also on this topic. The next issue is the collaborative projects. This is something which has been very important also in our chair. We have different collaborative projects like here in Colombia, Brazil, also with institutions in Afghanistan. And especially in Colombia, this was very interesting because through this project, funded by the German academic exchange program, we could bring masters in marine affairs, for instance, for the first time into our partner university in Cali, Colombia. And this was a great experience, not only for the students there, for ours, for the colleagues, but of course also for the practitioners. One of them said, in his 70 plus, it's the first time, he said, that I'm putting my feet in a university. And so that's also important in our work, raising awareness for this type of knowledge, which is not academic, but it's a huge knowledge, and it must get more visibility. The volume of this knowledge has been innovated through our work. The next point is the convention as such. You know that the convention text is a central part, but there are so many amendments. The convention as such is dynamic. When we go to these meetings of intergovernmental this meeting, this once a year, you see how much we discuss and it is important. It is a text made by hundreds of scholars, experts, representatives of different institutions. What I see now also in our research is that this convention, in fact, exactly what you are doing with your partners here, this convention is replacing former individually academic approaches, such as, for instance, the Paulo Freire approach. It's educational, it's a Brazilian and so on. This was texts we could work with. Or music in Venezuela for the kids with José Abreu, El Sistema. Also an individual who developed something. But also in former times here in Europe, in Germany, for instance, Erich and Elmar Dorflein developed a music educational system based on violin playing. That's very interesting. Or in Hungary, so Koda, or in Brazil, Heitor Villa-Lobos, who did something very similar to what we were hearing now here from Nepal. He composed a lot of music for music education based on singing. Hundreds, thousands of kids would sing together. This was in the 1930s, based on some modern musics. Because of course, it is also diverse music. So he made a synthesis for this purpose music education. I think even Ilmari Krok in Finland has also had some pedagogical ideas on that. There was only composing and researching. I don't know. Anyway, what I'm saying now, we have this convention of replacing all these individual things. And the good thing is, if you work with, for instance, with Paulo Freire in an academic context, you cannot change this text. It's there. And the convention text is somehow fluid. And in the meetings we can go further with it. I think this is really a challenge also in academic, a challenge I like very much. Then finally, my last remark is because this educational approach with support of the convention is very central because of the intergenerational transmission. Intergenerational transmission, which is a very central concept of the convention. I mean, it's the basis of passing on knowledge, heritage to other generations, to newer generations, is a pedagogical concept. And therefore, I think research also in these pedagogical issues can be inspired by the convention, but can give a lot of input also going back to the convention. And finally, to our research also, I heard some things also from Nepal. There are some local or native pedagogical techniques which can be focused on our own research. And on the other side, this is material to give input to this formal education in our institutions. I think they need to very much this difference. One thing we are working also very steadily with South African institution is what they call indigenous knowledge systems. In South Africa is really trying to put, as he said, in their program, trying to get benefit of this indigenous knowledge system within schools. Anyway, it was congratulations, beautiful project. And I think it shows how important the use of the convention can be, and it makes sense for our partners, this collaborative research. And on the other side, we are working on something like the convention, which is evolving, which is constantly being rebuilt or having new inputs and insights. Thank you very much, and congratulations. I don't know if you see me, to our friends in Nepal and Mauritius. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tiago. Very inspirational ideas and examples. I think we will hopefully continue with our friends, and I think we are already there from many kind of angles how to go on and explore maybe different projects that have been done before and plan the future. But maybe not now. We will do that later. And we have the final commentator, a little bit from a different background, not that much from the musicology background or the music background as Tiago, but from Arts University or UniArts, I think I should say, and from Helsinki. So Vice Rector Teemu Leinonen, you have been here for the whole week, and we have had many very good discussions and learning very fast about the reality of LCS.
Thank you, Matti, and happy to see you people. I hope we will see in Finland soon as well as the project continues. Thank you for the presentation, and I really been following this quite closely. This is super important for the entire university, the project we are doing. It's a big project for us, and I'm really happy that we have this opportunity to work in here. As Matti said, I've been just 3 months, but there's some place you can see. I've been just 3 months now, the Vice Rector for Research, and really in a mode of learning. That's why I came over here too. I don't come from music background or from even cultural heritage background. My own background is in design education and design research from the Aalto University. But it's interesting to listen to this because I see a lot of connections of things what I have done before and still will continue in my new position as a researcher. But a few things. I think especially from our colleagues over the Zoom that I've been working a bit with UNESCO earlier, and Tiago maybe give comments on this too. That I've been feeling that this safeguarding things being emphasized a lot, and I come from, or I'm afraid that if we just try to safeguard things, they will die. So I'm really excited about this living heritage or living cultural heritage concept as a researcher, and I see it more like from the point of view of doing new art and culture, and that's the way to keep the heritage alive as well. But the culture has been always changing in time, and the way of renewing the things, of course, building on the traditions and the heritage, but making it a living thing. And I think that's the interesting thing to consider, that how these, also because of that I've been doing a lot of internet related research too, and because of the internet, we live in more globally connected world, and these things are mixing up, that how this kind of transcultural forms are coming up, and that's the way to safeguard cultural heritage too. That's my kind of hypothesis. So please do new music, do new dances, all new stuff, and that's what I think super important. A few things about the action research as well. I think that's definitely is the right way to go, and there came a bit of connection to my background as a researcher, that I've been working a lot with the participatory design approach, which is actually Scandinavian innovation from the 1970s, and truly was in Sweden. Pelle Ehn was the professor in there, in the cultural environment of the 1970s in Sweden. A lot of industries were getting computers, for instance, banks. So there was a situation that a lot of people will lose their jobs. And what Pelle Ehn was proposing was that, okay, if this new technology will affect these people, they should be part of designing this new system. And it was very much driven from the union point of view, that you can't just tell us we will be on strike and whatever. But of course, they were having a power situation where they could claim that we should be part of this designing the whole service in a new way, and taking the people account in that change. And I think that's quite interesting to look for also from this participatory design research, like with the new technologies coming and how it changes the whole social structure and the work life and everything. So look for those. There's also one anthropologist, very famous, Arturo Escobar. You probably know, Colombian. Is in North Carolina nowadays, but he's been working also with this participatory design approach. Of course, it's been more about the crafts and so, but I see that there could be something. Look Arturo's work and look for that how do they approach this matter. And then thirdly, I thought that this is often issue, and when you come a bit of from outside, you easily question that often we are preaching to the believers, and that is a bit of challenge because we know that it's important, and often also the research is driven by showing how important it is, and I'm not sure if that is a good point of view. I think we should a bit of objective with that, and I'm convinced that we can find out evidence of the importance. But looking at it from the critical perspective, that we don't just say that this is important. We try to argue and have an argument why it's important. And I have few things like this, which is more from kind of business perspective, to think about the value proposition. and look for that kind of it don't need to be economic, it can be well-being or belonging or healthiness of the communities, but like some kind of hard evidence of that, and then especially when we think again the globalization and the internet, I think questions of peace are suddenly super important, and cultural understanding. I also believe that, especially when we heard that many small cultures I think that if you can represent your own cultural background freely, you will understand the value of the others as well. So it's like a way of building the peace and cultural understanding, that you are not afraid of your cultural expression, and then you will respect the others' right to express themselves. So cultural understanding and respect. And then finally, I guess what is coming up and we should really consider is the questions of colonialism and decolonialism. And again, I think in the North, we should be much more aware of these things. How is these power structures in a global scale? And very finally, like about this value proposition or impact, there might be some scholars who've been writing about this. I probably didn't invent it myself, but I think we talk a lot of biodiversity and see that that's like for the future of the planet. But how about the cultural diversity? That's whatever 4,000 languages we have, and they are dying, and how that affects to the losing human knowledge. I think the South African looking new forms of knowledge representation is very much related to that. And that could be something to bring also to the questions and discussions about artificial intelligence. That is it narrowing down the human knowledge when less and less diversity in cultures we are having. So what kind of challenges that will bring? Those three things. Thank you.
Thank you, Teemu. Thank you very much. It's I think you very much went to the core of the idea of this seminar and also of the project, that we need to do the safeguarding work, we need to do the community work, but then to really have an impact, we need the data, and we need something to prove it. Like this is why we should do it. I think this globally it's a problem with the culture field and with the heritage. So this is I think a very good reminder for us all, and thank you for that. And we have a few minutes for discussion, but the festival is going and it's Friday night, so we can just if anybody has any questions or insights, it's okay.
I have just a small question to Nepal. You know, 150 ethnic groups, maybe 150 languages, or we heard it today about the Sami. I believe that to each language has also its repertoire.
Yes.
So if a language extinguishes, yes, also the whole repertoire will extinguish. So this would be sort of question about. Yeah, it's a reminder.
Yes. Did you hear Rizu, or should I?
I don't know what they think about.
I could hear it, but like not clearly actually.
So Tiago the microphone is here, so he was just commenting that the kind of the fact that when you have the large amount of languages like you have in Nepal, and also the ethnic groups with those languages and with the music cultures, and when the language is vanishing, then we lose all the other things also.
Yeah.
So kind of this.
Referring to music, not necessarily to the ethnic group. They may keep. But if a language distinguishes, also the whole amount of repertoire linked any language as music would also be managed. This is just the question.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Yeah, we have 125 ethnic groups, but the languages we have around 60 different, some 60 something different languages. Others are dialects. But I totally agree. Like when the language itself disappears, there's a lot of knowledge that disappears with it. Maybe that through the music. For example, there's one group in the Sherpa region. The Sherpa people, this one Sherpa people group, they still sing the old, not a lot, but there's a very less number of people doing it, but they still do sing this their ethnic traditional song with Damyang. But since they were used to using Sherpa language that was so close with Tibetan language, now there are very less people who could understand that. So the majority of the people actually do not know what they are singing about. They just learn by heart. So these are the things that we are just learning, but like we are kind of losing the essence, losing the knowledge that's behind these things. And yes, I do totally agree with you, Diego.
Yes, yeah, please, John.
Yeah, I listened with great interest, not being any kind of expert on any of these issues, and I was just reading these sort of things. What strikes me also is how important it is to avoid a certain way of thinking about tradition. Yep. Okay. That way you can see me. To avoid a certain way of thinking about tradition, which is very present in musicology and anthropology in particular, which is to regard tradition as something that is seen from the outside by those who are bearers of a certain formal capacity to recognize it as tradition and codify it. And I was just looking at some examples, the way in which the traditions of the blues were collected through recordings by Lomax, and thereby first made available for massive appropriation and theft by rock musicians and others, and secondly made available for formal analysis, and therefore defined as a tradition in a way as a non-living tradition, in other words. So the examples that have been shown of involving people in the preservation of tradition are extremely important, but of course that means that by giving the people the skills to preserve the tradition, you're also giving them the skills by definition to adapt, transform, modify it, and thereby make it a living tradition. So there are two gazes here, and I think we're still haunted by the early 20th century anthropological gaze of freezing tradition so as to make it available for appropriation, including purely formal appropriation. I was looking up some stuff about Bartok's Bulgarian dances as I was listening, because it made me think of that as an example of just how complex the notation is to capture what Bartok was picking up in performances that had no idea of what formal notation might be. And of course, once you write it down that way and freeze it within a system of formalization, it's no longer tradition at all. It becomes high culture accessible only to the most skilled. And indeed, and I didn't know this until a few minutes ago, the Bulgarian dances are right at probably everyone knows this, are right at the end of Mikrokosmos, because they're the most difficult pieces in the whole compendium. So I find this question of the nature of the gaze on tradition hugely important, and the value of the kind of projects that have been presented here being precisely in avoiding that kind of gaze. But it's still very common, of course, to essentialize and other tradition in order to make it formalizable. I don't know if that made any sense, but it's just how I was listening to what was going on.
Yeah.
Just quickly, I left one slide off, but in the article of Abaim, I'm particularly connecting with Harrison, who says that actually heritage ecology is a form of futurology. So this is the way to view the heritage. It has to be future orientation, based on future orientation, and I do think there is a big message there for.
Absolutely, because tradition can be frozen, but heritage can't, because heritage by definition has heirs, and heirs are entitled to inherit and in turn transmit, and that makes a big difference. And sometimes we criticize them, of course, for not keeping up their own traditions, the we being the anthropological gaze. Yeah, there's no title to do that.
But we have 400 years of kind of the heritage discourse that we have, how we think about tradition and culture, especially in the Western world. And now I think we are kind of breaking out of it, but it will take time. And this is, I think, in a macro level, but also with our small like problems that we face. I think this is very normal kind of like we can really do that here.
But the very interesting point, and I can't think about it also from the politics point, and the nationalism movements and how to bring them up. I think the Kalevala, the Finnish national epic, is an interesting example, because when there were a lot of poems collected already in the 18th century, but then in the 19th century, Elias Lönnrot went and collected a number of them and brought them down. And traditionally in Karelia, it's been an oral tradition. You sing, it's never the same. You know, depending on the audience and your feelings, you change the words. Now it was in the books. 40 years afterwards, when the researchers went to Karelia to collect poems, they were all singing Kalevala. So practically Kalevala killed for many, many years the tradition, the living tradition. But now it's been coming up again. We have many people who are practicing that, studying it, coming up with the new poems using the same model or whatever. So it was necessary for building the nation, to show all that we have this thing. But now, after 100 years of independence, we might be strong enough to not rely on that anymore. And you can go out there and you can hear them living tradition or living heritage.
Yeah, very
great point on that.
I wrote down the Grimm brothers as an example.
Yeah,
non-musical example.
Yeah, the mechanism
is a great similarity.
Yes,
the
totally killed that
process of codification.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
But it may still survive.
Okay, so I think we will be closing the seminar. So thank you very much, and especially to Rizu and Alain and everybody in there in Zoom, actually in there. So have a nice night, actually, and evening, and hope to be in contact Zoom soon. And then thank you, audience here, and thank you, Vilma, thank you, Teemu. Thank you, Matti.